Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, eighth verse. Tiryang nagadvijasari srupadeva daityai दैत्य मर्त्याभिः परिचितं सदसद्विशेषं रूपं स्थविष्ठम् अजते महदाद्यनेकं नातः परं परमवेद्मि न यत्र वादः तिर्यङ्नगद्विजसरीसृपदेव दैत्य मर्त्याभिः परिचितं सदसद्विशेषं रूपं स्थविष्ठम् अजते महदाद्यनेकं नातः परं परमवेद्मि न यत्र वादः. Eighth verse, ninth one. Kalpantade tadakhilam jatharena grihvan shete puman swadrig ananta sakhasta danke yanna bisindhuruha kanchana loka padma garbhedyuman bhagavate pranatosmi tasmai. Kalpantade tadakhilam jatharena grihvan shete puman swadrig ananta sakhasta danke यन्नाभिसिन्धुरुह काञ्चन लोकपद्म गर्भेद्युमान् भगवते प्रणतोस्मि तस्मै. So the eighth and the ninth verse are interesting in a way that it shows creation, destruction, and creation again. So if you look at the eighth verse, it talks about creation. He says, Bhagavan, you are the source of everything. And in the ninth verse, then he says, Bhagavan, everything dissolves into you. Grihvan, everything is withdrawn into you. It is withdrawn into you. You are lying down. Shete Puman. You are lying down comfortably. Everything is dissolved into you. And then again, it arises from you. The whole creation, the Brahma, Kanchana Loka Padma, Garbhe Dyuman. From this Garbha, the Dyuman, Dyuti, the bright Brahma, arises again from your Nabhi. So the eighth verse is recognizing him as the source of everything, the creator, one from which everything is coming. And then in the next verse, he's saying, but you are the one who is dissolving and withdrawing everything in you. And then again from you, it recreates and re-arises and gets regenerated. So this whole cycle of creation, destruction is indicated in these two verses. So we'll just look at the word meaning here. Tiryang naga dvija sari dvija sarisrupa deva daityai. Tiryang, naga, animals, serpents, dvija, birds. Birds are called dvija. Brahmins are also called dvija. Sannyasis are also called dvija. So anybody who takes two births is called a dvija. So for Brahmins, once they take Brahmopadesham, the Punal, they are known as dvijas. Sannyasis are called dvijas when you take sannyasa ashrama, because you are dropping everything and you're creating a new identity for yourself. Or rather, you're dropping all identities, rather, not creating a new one, but you're dropping all existing identities and you're reborn. So they are also called as dvijas. Birds are called dvija because in the egg they have a certain form and life, and then they break out of the egg and then they are born out and they come out again, right? So in the reference, dvija birds are also referred to as dvijas. So here is saying Tiryang is animal, Naga are the serpents, Dvija birds, Sarisripa are reptiles that crawl, Deva Daitya, all the gods and all the Daitya, and Martyabhihi, which means all the human beings. Because this world is called as Martya Loka. So we are all Martyabhihi. We are all Martyaha. We are people who are repeatedly born and die and born, mortals basically. Mortals. So human beings and other mortal beings. Parichitam Sat Asat Vishesham Rupam Stavishtham Aja. So all of this is known and this is experienced. What is experienced by all of these beings? So the animal, the bird, the serpents, the human beings, everybody experience what? experience that there is this um, unborn supreme, which is Aja, which is unborn, Mahatadi, starting with the Mahat. There is this Anekam, uh, Anekam in terms of it expresses in itself as Aneka. But what is that? That one Aja, that single Aja, the unborn Lord, expresses himself as all of this, the numerous variegated life forms, and this is known to each and every individual form, he's saying. And he's saying, Ata na ataf param. Beyond this, there is nothing else. And I know this truth. Na yatra vadaha. There is no doubt or argument that remains. So what he's saying is all the beings that experience this world, whether you experience it as real or unreal or whatever, in your dream, in your waking, in whatever form you experience, it has all come from that one single source, that unborn, uncreated source from which everything of all of this arises. And this, there is no doubt. Na yatra vadaha. There is no doubt about any of this. Why he says that is because there's always this conversation or discussion that goes around to say, is the creator infinite, unbounded, timeless, eternal, and the source of all things? So there is this question that always goes around. And one simple way to remember is if there is a creation, there must be a creator. This is a simple principle. If something needs to exist, something has brought it into existence. Now, if that something, assuming that God, which created this whole world, had a creator, which means that God or that principle or that cosmic consciousness had a creator, then that would be greater than that. Then that is para. Then something else probably created that, and that is para. So it doesn't matter where it ends. Point is, obviously there is something which did not get created in the first place. Otherwise, what creates that becomes the para, it becomes the creator, becomes the one that is unborn, aja. There must be something that is unborn, right? That is creating everything else. I mean, you trace back. Whatever we trace back, we say, oh, this world was created by Brahma. Okay, Brahma, then who created Brahma? And then, okay, Mahavishnu, then who created that? And then who created that? If you keep going, at some point you'll end at some principle to say that, okay, enough. Right? No point in going. This is called regressing ad infinitum. Regressing ad infinitum means you keep regressing, keep going back and back. At some point you'll hit a point where you're just keeping going back and there's no point. So then you rest at some point to say that enough, something. என்னமோ ஒன்று பண்ணிது. Like in Nasadiya Sukta. There's a beautiful Sukta in the Rig Veda called Nasadiya Sukta. Na Asat. So the Sukta talks about creation, the principle of creation, how creation came and so on and so forth. Very, very beautiful work. It ends saying, now all of this has been created, and probably the one in the heavens knows this, or probably even he does not. That's how it ends. The one in the heavens probably knows how it has been created, or probably even he does not know. Which means there is a principle behind all of this that is unborn, that is eternal, that is timeless, that is infinity. Right? How do we say something is infinite when it does not have finite boundaries? When something, there is a finite boundary to something, it cannot be infinite. Right? You cannot say, okay, where does infinity end? The whole question is absurd. Because the moment you say, where does infinity end, it means then it ends somewhere and something else begins. And then there are two. The whole idea of Advaita also came from the same idea that there is this one single principal entity that is existing in and through everything. And it is the cosmic consciousness, cosmic principle. And you think about it, that is what people give it different names, and we give it different manifestations. We give it different manifestations so that we can resonate with it, we can connect with it. But the principle itself is infinite, both in space and in time. Because the moment you make it finite, that means there is something else. It is not like the gods in our நம்ம ஆல்டர்ல காட்ஸ் ஃபோட்டோலாம் வச்சிருப்போம்ல, பிள்ளையார் வச்சிருப்போம், நம்ம விநாயகர், இவர் முருகனை வச்சிருப்போம், சிவனை வச்சிருப்போம், பார்வதி வச்சிருப்போம். They are not like that in space and time. ரைட்? பக்கத்து பக்கத்தில் அப்படி நின்றுண்டு they don't exist like that. These forms don't exist like that in a frame. These are principles. We have manifestations. We have created those manifestations in some form that we can resonate with. But the principle in itself, like we always refer to this, when you think about yourself, when you close your eyes and think about yourself, there is no form. You don't think about the form. Even if you've seen yourself 5 minutes before in the mirror, it is hard for you to bring that form back. You only experience yourself as presence, not as form. So the same idea, when you look at this cosmic principle, that cosmic consciousness that exists, why do we say it is unborn, it is eternal, it is infinite, all of that, is because if it is not so, then something else is. You name that as God, Paramatma. The Parama Atma, the Para Atma or the Parama Atma, the term that we use, Para means it is beyond all that is within your realm of cognition. Whenever the term Para is used, it refers to something that's beyond my cognition. The problem that we have is we cannot cognize infinity, and hence we struggle with it. Even in mathematics, they struggle with it. They give it a symbol, infinity, and they move on. We struggle with the concept of infinity because the mind cannot conceive it. Timelessness, the mind cannot conceive it. But it is there in our experience. அடிச்சு போட்ட மாதிரி தூங்கினேன். We say this, right? I slept like a log. How much time has passed? You have to get up and look at your watch. If you had a deep sleep, you have to get up and look at your watch. Otherwise, very difficult. Or look at the sun, or look at some external parameters to conclude how much time could have possibly passed. Otherwise, there is no way for you internally to actually validate how much time has passed in your deep sleep. There's no way. So what happens during that period of deep sleep? Timelessness. We experience timelessness. We experience absorption. Right? Where is the mind there? Mind is also gone. Mind only records an experience. It doesn't record the fact of what has happened there. It only records an experience to say something like this has happened. And it concludes saying, I went into deep sleep. I didn't know anything. What happened? And then that's all. The mind cannot go further in investigating into it. Because the idea of timelessness, the idea of infinity, the mind cannot conceive. And we give too much importance to the mind. The mind, we have to understand, is a tool to get you to a certain place. It is not the ultimate. It is not the ultimate. There is this principle that is, there is this cosmic intelligence that is there, which is operating, whether you like it or not. That is why he's saying Tiriyang, Naga, Dvija, Sarisrupa, all of these animals and beings and all of that they experience. In fact, animals experience this intelligence much more than we do. But they are far more intuitive. The word would be instinctive. They're far more instinctive, but they sense things far more sharper than we do. Because for us, the mind comes in between. The mind actually creates an obstacle for us in many ways. For animals, if you see, those who have dogs or have had seen this, they would have experienced this. The dog would know before you would know that somebody is trying to come to your house. And the streetless somebody would be walking. How does the dog know that he's going to come to my house? He could go to the neighbor's house, he could go to this person's house, that person's house. But dog will sense. It is said snakes can know earthquakes that happen in far continents. So snake, for example, in China, would know something happening in South America if there is a earthquake that is going to come. Their ability to sense is very, very high.
No, no. One more thing. Many animals, many birds, they know அவளோட அதோட எண்ட் டைம் அவளுக்கு தெரியுமா? அது அதுக்கு வேல் பத்தி கூட போட்டிருந்தா. அது பூமிக்கு அடியில போய் தண்ணிக்குள்ள போயிட்டு போயிடுமா. மயிலும் அதே மாதிரிதான். It will not die in front of anybody. அதுக்கு சென்ஸ் கொஞ்சம் இருந்தா போட்டிருந்தது இல்லையா?
Very nice. So they also know the time of their death. Nice, Amma. So imagine we don't, right? If any of us knows the time of my death, we think it's a great miraculous feat. We think he's a Mahatma. Like Amma is saying, even a peacock knows when it's going to be a time of death, and it'll go and hide away. Which is why you'll probably never find a dead peacock anywhere. Right? So like this, there is this, because they're very, very connected with nature, they understand the cycles, they understand the movement, they understand all of that. They understand this physicality very well, much better than us. In our case, the mind actually impedes. Many ways, the mind is a great imaginative tool. It's a fantastic imaginative tool that the animals don't have. But in terms of being able to connect and be in tune with the whole natural forces and the time cycles, etc., the mind is actually an obstacle. Because mind has a storage and it can project. It stores and projects, right? All your emotions, all your or your thoughts, it stores. The chitta stores and it projects imagination. And then the ahankara is also there to say it is my mind, my body, my thoughts, my idea, my projections, all of that. So we get caught up in that and we lose the ability to, and that is true for all of us, we lose the ability to be in tune with that which is beyond the mind. So when we talk about infinity, we talk about eternal, the mind cannot conceive, and which is why we reject it. But he's saying even animals and all of these beings can experience it. If you're sensitive enough, you will know that there is a much greater power, much greater source of truth from which everything is emanated. Right? He's saying everything is emanated from here. Rupam Stavishtam Ajate Mahatadi Anekam Na Ataf Param. Beyond this, nothing else. Na Ataha Param. Parama Vedmi. I know this. Na Ataf Param Parama. There is no greater supreme being than this supreme consciousness. Vedmi, I know. Na Yatra Vadaha. No, there no doubt or argument remains. I don't know how to I mean, I don't want to waste my time. Basically, he's saying, don't waste your time in arguing. Is there a greater being? Is there this? Is there that? What if mind is the greatest tool? You can get caught up in that, but you will never open yourselves to much higher realms of understanding, experience, and truths. Right? We will get caught up in this. And this is what is also narrated, the cyclical pattern of us getting caught up. Why do we call this whole experience of spiritual realization as awakening? Why is the term awakening used? Are we sleeping? According to a spiritual master, yes, we are all sleeping. We are sleeping to what? We are sleeping to the truths that are around us. Right? Somebody, சின்ன குழந்தைலாம் வந்து how much ever loud noise you play, we'll just sleep. Right? அதுவும் வீக்கெண்ட் எல்லாம் வந்துருதுன்னா போறோம். எரும மாடு மாதிரி தூங்குறான் பாரு அப்படின்னு திட்டுவா. எரும மாடு இஸ் a nice creature. நல்ல பால் நல்லா கொடுக்கும். பட் அந்த சொரணை, there is no, you've become numb to the experiences on the outside. So you, Kausalya, Supraja, Rama will go on one side, மணி அடிச்சுட்டு இருப்போம், தூபம் போயிட்டு இருக்கும், all of that. And அப்படியே எங்க ஹாலில் விட்டா கூட அப்படியே படுத்துட்டு இருப்போம். We'll be sleeping off like that. So what is happening there? You have lost the ability to sense the truth of what is happening around you. So right now we are all numb like that. We are all caught up in our own little minds, own problems, own issues, my family, my work, my employer, my this thing, my situation, my this thing, this thing. Usually we are all caught up. You have to work on it. When situations come, you work on it, but also learn to stand above it and look at it. Once in a while, raise your head up, this Bhavasagara. Raise your head up and try to see it from the top. Bring that bird's eye view. To see that it's all right. Things are happening. The more we get caught up, the more we are unaware of the truth. Because when you rise up, that is when that awakening happens. You wake up, you stand up, you see. Uttishthata jagrata. When you go open up your eyes and you see, and then you see, oh, there is a world that is greater, that is more beautiful. And my problems are petty because they come and go. It is not forever. And even if it repeats, it's all right. There's a reason why it repeats for a period of time. It will go. You didn't have the same problems when you were 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of age. And maybe when you're 70, 80, you may not have the same problems. Or you may, if we don't learn through it, we may get caught up in the same cycle. And sometimes we say, even 60 or 70, we will say, even at 40, I had the same problem, it's repeating. Because people get caught up also. Right? We have to learn to rise up and look at it differently. And sometimes, as I say, this cycle that we experience is not in the same place. It's like a helical. You're moving in cycles, but you're actually moving forward also. Right? Look at it that way, because every experience that you have had in the past is a learning for the future. Everything that you're now going through, it may seem exactly similar, but then you're now better at it. You're doing something better at it. You now look at it with a different perspective. Now you have much more clarity. You have much more confidence. You have greater devotion. A lot of things have happened, right? The situation may seem similar to the last time, but then now, aren't you a better person? So this whole thing that we are experiencing, he says, is the source is you, O Bhagavan. I know this for truth. I know this for truth. Nobody needs to come and explain to me. Nobody needs to come and explain or try to convince me. I know this truth. I am convinced with it. There's no argument here. Na yatra vadaha. Right? There is no dispute. And if and the recommendation is to also don't get into a dispute. If somebody comes and say, where is Bhagavan, where is God, where is that, your Vedas say this, your Upanishads is saying this, your this is saying that, don't get into an argument. Na yatra vadaha. Don't get into an argument also. There's no argument here, and don't also get into an argument. You know that truth exists. Establish that truth for yourself and then work towards it. And don't get into an argument. The problem with an argument is what you have established then starts shaking. And somebody is more intelligent than you, he'll give you 5 different examples to shake your knowledge and understanding, because we are also forming. We are in the formative stages. When you do that, see, it's an example, somebody is stopped smoking. Somebody has stopped smoking, and now he's controlling, right? He's putting a nicotine patch and all of that. And then you take him to a club where it's a lot of smoke around. He will get tempted. How much ever you try to control, if you take him into an environment where everybody is smoking and then they're doing all of that he used to do earlier, it's very difficult to hold that temptation. He'll fall into it again. So, which is why it's important that when we are forming, try not to have distractions, because it's easy to fall into the earlier pattern of the way we lived. The way the mind used to process, it's easy to fall into that pattern if you are in the same sangha, in the same company. That is why satsanga is important. You identify and you say that no, I just want to move with these people because I'm in the formative stages. I'm forming my establishing my truth, my faith, my understanding. I'm establishing all of this. I don't want to become rigid at the end of it, but I want to establish some truths. Fundamental. That is why it's called Sanatana Dharma. That is these eternal truths. It's irrespective of religion, language, geography, country, race, nationality. These truths, compassion, kindness, love, being inclusive, sharing, all of these are, there's no religion to these things. So you're trying to establish these things within you. When you're doing that, try to be in satsanga as much as possible, even in your workplace or in your other social environments. Try to maintain this, and you will see that you are able to establish these truths, and the ability to stand up and see once in a while becomes much better. And then there's recognition that yes, that truth is there, that parama is there. Na ataf param, there is nothing else, and that is there. அப்படிங்கிறது that establishes very, very strongly within you. Right? Then we ourselves become our own healer. We don't need to go to somebody, I don't know what to do. My life is going this, that, it's all breaking apart. What do I do? Look at the Jatagam, give me a Homa, give me a that thing, give me a this thing. We don't have to run around. If you feel inspired, you go do a Homa. You feel inspired, we go to a temple, do Nutyata Pradakshanam. You feel inspired, you do, but not as a desperate attempt to fix something. Because now you're able to sit up and once in a while see around. And you know that Parama is there. Nayatra Vadaha. Then, next verse he says, Kalpantade tadakhilam jathare nagrhvan shete puman swadrik ananta sakhastadanke yanna sindhurah kanchana loka padma garbhedyuman bhagavate pranatosmi tasmai. I bow down to that great being who at the end of creation he withdraws the whole universe. Kalpa ante etat akhilam, all this entire universe, jatharena grihvan, he withdraws it into his jathara. Shete Puman, he lies down. Swadrik, self-luminous. Shete means to lie down. This Puman, this person, Swadrik, Ananta Sakha. Ananta Sakha is Ananta Shayana, the Ananta Naga. On Ananta Naga, Sesha, he is lying down. He is self-luminous. He is self-aware. He is conscious. Means his conscious, super conscious being is there. Tat Anke, on his lap. Yat Nabhi, from whose navel. Sindhu Ruhaka Anchana Loka Padma Garbhe. So from whose navel, Yat Nabhi, comes this Dyuman. Dyuman is Brahma, who comes from that Nabhi. From the Nabhi comes a lotus, Anchana Loka Padma, and from that Garbha of that Padma comes this Dyuman, this radiant Brahma. To that Supreme Lord, from whom this arises, Pranatah Asmi, Tasmai. To him I bow down. So I bow down to that great being who is now consumed. Now, all that we spoke about creation, everything created and came out, he is the one who consumes everything also. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a narration of time, how time starts with one day, and then one human day, one human year, and then what is one celestial year or one celestial day, Pitruloka day. One day in the Pitruloka is equal to 1 year in Bhumi Loka. And that is why it is said we do Shraddham and all that every year, because they get fed every day. So, and then so on and so forth. So there's as lokas go up, the dimensions up in terms of scale, not in terms of up in terms of direction. In terms of scale, when they go, these lokas are much rarefied dimensions in the same space. In the same space, but much rarefied dimensions. And their scale of time and space is very different. So as you go like that, then you have what is a yuga, a chatur yuga. A yuga comes, and then comes a chatur yuga, and then comes the Manvantara. Right now it is Shvetaswata Manvantara. So he's the 72nd Manvantara or something like that, right? So there is a Manu at the head of each Manvantara, Ikshvaku Manu, and so on and so forth. And then there are Indras, then there are Devatas, right? And then there is a Brahma from whom all of this gets created. And the Brahma also has a period of time. So all of these that I spoke earlier has a time scale. They live, they die, they live, they die, live, they die, live, they die. And then Brahma also has a time scale. He lives for 50 years. He is awake for 50 years and he sleeps for 50 years or something like that, and then he dies. His lifetime is 100 years and he dies. And in that period, Brahma, there are so many kalpas and so many chatur yugas go through. And this Brahma, there are several Brahmas that get created and destroyed. Brahma is created and then is withdrawn and then comes again from the Nabhi, and he again creates the universes, and then Brahma collapses, goes back into Bhagavan. Again, Brahma comes, and he says, and the Bhagavatam says, several of these cycles happen in one wink of Mahavishnu. Abdi. One wink of Mahavishnu, so many creations and so many things have happened in one wink of Mahavishnu. So one is, imagine that supreme person that they're imagining is so huge, so grand, and so Brahmanda, Brihad, so big. And we're not talking about just Earth, you're talking about the solar systems, you're talking about galaxies, you're talking about multiverses. So many get created. All in one wink of Mahavishnu. right? And we worry about பால் கார நேத்திக்கு 1/2 லிட்டர்ல பால் தண்ணி கொஞ்சம் எக்ஸ்ட்ரா மிக்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டோம். சொசைட்டில போய் நம்ம we have to go and create a we have to stand up. See, imagine this is the scale. And then when this whole process, when you sit and sit down, there's a whole chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam. We should read it. It seems very fantastic. But what we need to understand is the idea that creation is a cyclical process. Creation, destruction, creation, destruction, creation, destruction. It's a cyclical process. At some point in some cycle, we are there. We are there in some cycle, some form, some place, somewhere, at some time. We are there, we get dissolved, we are born again, we go through this. It keeps going on and on and on. What we can do is make sure that while we are living, be joyful, be blissful, be happy, try to see what is most relevant for me, how to leave the body in the most peaceful and the most blissful way. Right? We think we are all Hercules carrying that earth. And you're looking, somebody please take away this burden from me. The beautiful line that Ramana says, it's always, it's nice to remember, I mean, it maybe repeats, right? But it's always nice to bring that back into our minds. There are, somebody goes and cries in front of Ramana, Bhagavane, Arul Venam, and all that, right? So then Sishya is saying, see, look at this man, he's sitting at the Ganga, he's sitting at the banks of Ganga, he's thirsty, he's sitting at the banks of Ganga and he's crying for water. He's referring to Ramana and he's saying, this man is crying to Ramana. So he's saying he's sitting at the banks of Ganga, sit there with Ramana. No, that is Ganga itself. You can drink from there. But Ramana makes a beautiful statement. He says, Ganga herself is crying that I am thirsty. So where to go? Ganga herself is crying that I am thirsty. Enga poradhu pinna? You just have to realize that I am Ganga. I can't feel thirsty. I am the water that quenches the thirst. So this whole thing is an illusion that I've created in my mind that I have to, without me, I have to. So he says, you yourself are your own cure, your own medicine. We just have to look at this. And then there is this Parabrahma is there. You see him as Narayana, you see him as whatever, he's there. He's always there as this constant Dhruva Nakshatra. Dhruva Nakshatra, Bhagavan made him as Dhruva Nakshatra, the pole star, as a reminder for people that when they look at him, they remember Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Whenever we look at the pole star, we should chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya because Dhruva is sitting there as a reminder to us. He's sitting there saying, whenever you look up and you see me, remember this. Remember Dhruva Stuti. Remember my experience. Remember my sadhana. Remember the pratignya I took and then I found Narayana. Remember what I experienced so that you may also experience the same. Beautiful. So he is chosen as a reminder, right? A universal reminder. So we should use this reminder. And he says here, this is important for us to recognize. Kalpanta detad akhilam jatharena grihvan. From this, the world that you have created, O Bhagavan, you yourself are consuming it. And it's not a bad thing. Destruction is not a bad thing. Whenever something needs to go, it will go. It has to go. Only then a new thing can happen in its place for you and for that thing also that went. The thing that exhausted also will have to now take a new form and new shape and come back again because it has a journey. It is on a journey. So in the same way, this whole universe gets consumed. What are we talking about? My father, my mother, my brother, my child, my this thing, my that thing. Like Buddha went and told, one lady came weeping to him, saying, "Oh Bhagavan, my Buddha, you are Lord, you are the Lord of the universe. My child has died. What such fate I have? Can you please bring him back to life?" And all that. And Buddha says, he consoles the lady first and says, "It's all right, I understand, I feel your pain," and all that in his compassionate way. He says, "No, no, 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 you have to bring him back to life." Then he says, "Okay, don't worry, I will bring him back to life, but please go and what you do is get me a fistful of rice from a house where nobody has died." This lady goes around the full village. Every house she goes, they're about to give rice. I say, "No, no, 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 I just remembered 2 years ago, this person died in my house. So and so died, so and so died." So then she slowly, as she goes to each house and house and house, she realizes that somebody has died in everybody's house. And so it'll happen in my house too. And then she comes and falls at his feet. See, these are beautiful ways, and masters, they do a demonstration by which you understand it yourself. Buddha didn't do anything. Buddha didn't tell, "Listen, everybody dies one day, okay? Shut up." அப்படி சொல்லல. He had the compassion for her to understand it in her own way. Right? See, that is the difference between when you apply philosophy heartlessly versus you develop compassion in your heart, and when you deliver it in a way that somebody can absorb it. Because it's important that it makes a life change. It brings about understanding in you. Otherwise, it will just become words. He'll say, "Oh, okay, like every other man, this man is also saying the same thing." The same idea, but when you deliver it with compassion, when you deliver it with love, when you deliver it with the intention that, "Oh Bhagavan, may it heal the other person." So when we look at all of this, you know that this is continue. This will continue to happen. Somebody will die. You will grow old and you will become immobile at some point in time. You will become dependent. All of that will happen. But do you do it gracefully? The whole journey is, are you doing it gracefully? Does it happen gracefully for you? And that will not happen at that time. It has to happen now. We have to prepare our mind. We have to look at this whole creation as something, Bhagavan, you are creating, you are consuming, you are destroying, you are recreating, you are doing the cycle again and again. But you are constant through all of this. And I hold on to that. Right? Shete Puman Swadrug Ananta Sakhasta Danke. He is the one who Shete Puman. He is the one, visualize him. Kshirodanvat Pradeshe Shuchimanavalasat Saikater Muktikanam. He is the one who is in the Shira Sagara, he is lying down. Visualize him beautiful in Pitambara, lying down, smiling. I want to share at the top of the hour one quick photo of my guru. He is traveling someplace, and somebody has taken a photo of him. Just this many years ago. Okay, just look at his face here. Okay, he's sitting in a train. He's sleeping. Okay, so he is a guru. He is a teacher. He's teaching. He is a sannyasi. He has followers. People doing this, that, and the. But look at that bliss and joy in which he's sleeping. Right? நமக்கு 4 பேர் வீட்ல வச்சுன்னு சமாளிக்க முடியல. So when you look at this, that itself is healing in many ways, right? You see that and you know there it is possible. See, why are these people, why do they hang around? Why do they live around us? Is to show that this state is possible even for you. When you sleep, when you are able to rest, you find your peace within, you're able to rest, you can do that. It is possible. These are reminders, right? See, think about a lot of these masters, they amount of responsibilities they carry, if they want to carry, right? Oh, there are so many disciples, everybody is depending on me, trusting me and coming to me. They'll be so stressed. They should be so stressed. But no, because they know they're an instrument. They know this keeps going on and on again and again. Shete Puman, right? See, Shete Puman means lying down, this great supreme person. They're reminded of my guru. He's also sleeping nicely. When you're like that, you are the same with Narayana, you're the same with Ranganatha, you're the same. When you are sleeping in such bliss and joy, when you look at a small child sleeping blissfully, it is Narayana, it is Bhagavan. Shete Puman. Shete Puman Swadrik, in its own joy, in its own light. Swadrik, Ananta Sakastadanke. Yannabhi Sindhur Sindhuraha Kanchana Loka Padma Garbhe Dyuman Bhagavate Pranatosmi Nityam. Which means every time, even within us, it keeps going on and on. This whole cycle keeps going on and on. When I sleep blissfully, peacefully. When I wake up, this whole creation comes out. And then I go back into my resting self. And this cycle goes on again and again within me also. So we recognize that Swadruk, that self luminous, aware, conscious being within me, which is Bhagavan himself, the Antaryami is operating here. Then that joy is very different. Then you're not sleeping anymore in the sense of the sleeping that we are doing. You're awake. You're awake to that joyful, blissful presence. Hmm? So that those are the two verses. We'll just chant once and then we'll close today. Tiriyang nagadvija sarisripa deva daitya martyabhif parichitam sadasad vishesham rupam sthavishtham ajate mahadadyanekam natah param paramavedmina yatra vadah कल्पान्तदेतदखिलं जठरेण गृह्वन् शेते पुमान् स्वदृक् अनन्तसखस्तदङ्के यन्नाभिसिन्धुरः काञ्चनलोकपद्म गर्भेद्युमान् भगवते प्रणतोऽस्मि तस्मै ॐ कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि सदाशिवायेति समर्पयामि जगदम्बिकेति समर्पयामि सद्गुरुनाथायेति समर्पयामि हरि ओं तत्सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ देवा